before we broke that door down. Now naturally, we didn't have the sheath on. This is the bayonet. Incidentally, our battalion was in bayonet attacks, hand-to-hand combat. But this is the gun. So we decided that we would kick the door in. So we did. This was all on hand signals. We kicked the door in, and when the door opened, there was a huge ornate desk. And behind it was sitting General Beringer, German General Beringer. Incidentally, we captured it. But around him were about a dozen German young officers. They looked sharp, they looked healthy, and so right away, Joe and the other two fellows took over the 12 young officers. They were poring over maps. They hadn't ever seen an American, but there we were all painted up in camouflage, black, green, and I know it scared them because they were wondering if we were from Mars or were we United States. But then I concentrated on the general, and I was carrying a Tommy gun. So Joe had the other two fellows, paratroopers, dismantling the weapons of the young officers, had them on their stomach on the floor. And whenever we captured a German, we disabled their weapons. We didn't allow that weapon to be functional. And I had my Tommy gun on the general, and he was just frozen behind that desk. And I could hear Joe and the other two fellows, and I could see them out of the corner of my eye, throwing the weapons. Those young German officers were carrying a Luger and other type of weapons, but they were dismantling them. Burp guns. So they were busy with that, and I concentrated on the general. And because I had a Tommy gun and a .45, I didn't have any free hands, so I motioned for the general to come out around behind his table. What we didn't know was General Beringer could speak English just like we could. So I motioned for him to come around, and I was stripping him of his weapons with one hand. And I missed one in his boot. His leg was up like that. Joe happened to see that weapon on the general. I asked, we knew a little German, we knew a little French. We were issued these little books so that we could converse with the population. So I asked the general, do you have any more weapons? He said, 9. Well, I knew what that meant because I later married a German. An American-born German angel. So Joe spotted that pistol that the general had in his boot, and he swung around with his bayonet, and he said, Sarge, he's got a pistol in his boot. So I held my Tommy gun on him, and Joe took the pistol out of his boot.
One of the things was that they hadn't told us was what to expect when we bailed out. Now, when I rolled out of the airplane, I didn't expect to be tossed around like a cork in the ocean. I know at one point one leg was up the back of my neck, and I thought, I've never been like that before. How am I going to get that off? And the next second it was off. But once you're out of the turbulence, it's very peaceful. You just relax, and you're on your back, your feet are higher, and you're looking up, and it's like standing on a hilltop with a nice breeze coming by. That part's fine. up 13,000 feet before I opened the parachute, because first, I didn't want the Germans to have time to say, here's where he's going to come down, and be there to greet me. And secondly, sometimes the Wehrmacht would use you as a target and shoot you on the way down. So I wanted to be as close to the ground as I could be. Unfortunately, they did not tell us more about parachuting than when you bail out, clear the airplane, and then pull this ring. And if you bring the ring back, we'll give you $5. Well, I didn't allow time for the parachute to open. So when the parachute opened, the wind took it here and I was here, and I swung down and I hit the ground. Well, first, the parachute is not like the modern parachutes. You stop short. And then when I hit the ground, I was going backwards. I sprained my ankle very badly, bounced and landed on my back on a rock. And if somebody had come up then and said, I'm going to shoot you, I would have said, thank you very much, hurry up. But I landed inside a radio station. Had a double barbed wire fence around it, and the wire was about that high. And I figured, well, this is no place to stay, so I found this depression where I pushed the parachute and went over the barbed wire. I left part of me and part of my clothing there. And I saw this guardhouse, quite a large place, about half the size of this room. And I figured, well, I'm caught, so I just walked in. Nobody was there. So I said, well, I'm not going to stay around and wait for them. So
too much attention to us strafing, so we would have to go back and redo the mission at a little bit lower over their heads until we got their attention. One morning, 3 of us were doing formation strafing, and there was a Jeep out here that was trailing behind the others. So we had radio contact, and one of the gals says, see that Jeep out there, let's go out and get him. So we came back down and went over him, and all he did was just wave at us. And so Caddy says, well, that she had a few words that I won't mention. Let's go back and get him again. So we went up and then dived down and went right over the top of his head. He jumped out of his Jeep and let it go out into the desert and hit the dirt, which was what he was supposed to do. So we went back to be sure he was okay, and he had taken off his white t-shirt and was waiting.
What was the nickname of the B-26, and was it really hard to fly?
The nickname was the Flying Prostitute, because you couldn't see the wings, so there was no visible means of support. And no, it was not hard to fly. You just had to, but you had to fly it all the time.
I can tell you why that so many of the men were like that, sir. It was a nip or tuck engagement. There were times that we thought we were going to have to give in. At one time we didn't have food or ammo for weeks and weeks, and the Japanese were bringing in just all kinds. They controlled the ocean, that they whipped our fleet in that area. So a lot of us were survivors that learned to survive, and thank God could impart it to others.
You pass it on, and you pass it on well.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Evans, you mentioned when you were below deck on the ship, on the West Virginia, was there a general alarm ever sounded? They didn't have time or something?
I forgot to tell you, there was none. That's why we absolutely, only one deck down, we knew nothing of what was going on. Just that bumping and lurching as the torpedoes hit. 6 torpedoes hit the ship. Two went under. One was a live one, and one had hit the ship, but it was a dud and fell. So they threw at least 8 at us and six out. They took out practically the whole port side of the ship. It was remarkable that we only lost out of 2,000, practically 181.
Went back to our field in Victoria called Allo Field, I didn't mention that before, to have sit around and learn all you could by sitting in the cockpit of a P-40. Now, P-40 is the Warhawk that Schinoffel had in China, among other places. And I think all the old ones he didn't want, they put in training. These planes, the engines were running, but we didn't trust them too much. But anyway, it's a big new plane. 1,150 horsepower and a big straight V12 and a huge propeller out in front of you. I think the prop was like from here to Charles back there. The nose seemed that long anyway, compared to these other planes. So we sat in them, sat in the cockpit, read the book, and they didn't have enough planes, so they divided our class in half. So it turns out my half was going to fly them the second day. So all of us were sitting out sitting on tank trucks and everything, watching all these first guys on their first flights. Of course, there's only one cockpit, you know. And the landing gear on a P-40 is so narrow. I think it's probably only 8 feet apart, which is not good for taxiing and landing to keep going straight. Well, anyway, after about a half an hour, 3 or 4 of these guys had cracked up. They had an accident. One guy landed so hard on one leg, it shoved it right up through the wings. He had to go around and belly. Another guy, he landed on one wheel and the wingtip, on landing, the wingtip bent up so much that it kept the aileron from working. So he hardly could roll it. So he was end up aiming right for some of us on this tank truck. He made it on, he made it landing. But anyway, how do you think we felt?
From the initial point to the target, I got slapped in the butt. Now in that ball turret, you had an 1.25 inch armor plating that you sat on. Well, I got hit in the tail end. And what I didn't know at the time, that my oxygen regulator, which was right under the seat, was busted. And we were flying at 30,000 feet, 60 degrees below zero. And I called my co-pilot and I said, I'm hit. He said, how bad? I said, I don't know, but I'm hit in the legs. He said, can you make the bomb run? 3 minutes. I said, well, absolutely. He said, well, get your camera on and get the pictures. So I swung my guns to the front, right behind the bomb bay where the bombs come out, dropped the bombs, followed them all the way to strike. But to this day, I don't remember a thing in the world about it. I had no oxygen. So when I came to, I was in the radio room, and that big old Swede waist gunner jumping up and down on me. He's the only thing that saved my life, because I had no oxygen. Well, anyway, after that, got back to base, and old Doc Beamer bent me over the table, picked a couple pieces of shrapnel out of my tail end, and so help it, he still left one, but I still got it. But got that all taken care of, and they wanted to send me to a hospital, and I said, hey, I don't need no damn hospital, I come over here to fly.
I took the position, and I admitted to myself, I am scared. That's it. The next thing I said to myself is, give me that damn control, I'm gonna put those damn bombs on the target. Total focus, total fix. And that's how I handled it. Whether I was flying the airplane or sitting in the seat as the co-pilot. That was my mindset.
In addition to that, I prayed,
Yeah, I said a
prayed a
prayer.
lot.
I said a prayer too.
and I would pray
Every night.
right,
Still
every
do.
day, all day.
Still do.
Yeah.
What about the POW missions? That was kind of unfair to make people fly those airplanes after the war is over.
Yeah, that's
with.
another point, folks, that was, you know, it was such a, gee, I don't know, humanitarian thing for America to do, because we took POW, prisoner of war, missions, and we delivered goods, that's food and clothing, to prisoners of war camps all over Japan, even if they weren't American. We did it to those, we love those Frenchmen, you know, they support us so well. To the French, Australians, English, we took stuff to all of them. And I want to tell you, those missions were more dangerous than the last missions that we flew, because we had to go down to anywhere 200, 300, 400 feet, and we're flying up these valleys with this big, giant aircraft, 141 feet wingspan. And we lost, after the war, about, let's see, 8 planes that I know of, after the war. That was just, it was just awful to think that those men lost their lives. But it was a humanitarian thing to do, and we did it. It sounds like America to me.
Ike says, everyone here and everyone who has ever been a part of it knows that there is no true glory in war. And these men who were landing on the beaches at Normandy, we may never see their like again.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, white with